Hey everybody, it's Matt Schmidt here in Albert, and we are ready to start number 3 of our immersion session. This is going to be about scaling and growing your business. Now, we up to this point have been pushing you to at least complete the course, at most get some campaigns up. If you're beginning, if you're an intermediate, you could put the practice of what Albert has laid out for you into play, and you can see hopefully some results. We got some results coming in. We got a couple guys in the group that is saying they're getting great results. One guy has sold 189 shirts using our techniques. That's huge. That's a lot of shirts to take a new concept and put that into place within a week and a half. That's awesome. That's taking action. I want everybody to do it like that. We want everybody to have fun using this course. Get your questions answered because, guys, the clock is ticking on our group now. I don't mean to be in a mean way, but the clock is ticking, right? We have 4 weeks from today. I promised you that we would close the group because this is not a group to sit around and, diddle daddle on taking action. We're pushing you. We want you to implement. I told you when I was emailing you is join, learn, implement. That's what we're learning for, we're hoping for you to do. And that's where we're getting to you today to get to the scaling part and the growing part. Because once you do implement, you are going to see results and you are going to have that opportunity to scale. Everybody, that was the whole point of this course is everybody that runs an ad, whether you're selling t-shirts, whether you're selling physical products or something else, info products. I do the same thing with my digital products. You have that opportunity to scale. And this is what we want to prep you for so you understand what to do next. Now, Albert has laid out the technicalities of what you do to scale. What I want to do again is like I've done in the past 2 webinars is get your mentality right, get your mental state right, walk you through some of the roadblocks, and make sure that you're implementing in the right ways because we've talked about it before how one thing could be this one little roadblock could be the trigger point for you to take action and see a lot of success because you knew it was there. Maybe you knew it was there, maybe you didn't know it was there, but that one little point, getting that thing answered and implementing that one thing could be the difference between not making money and making money or making money and making more money. So we want to implement that today. I'm really excited. If you can't hear it from my voice, that I'm on 4 hours of sleep, but I sound like I've taken about 12 Red Bulls and I'm ready to go. So who else is ready? Let's get a yes in the chat box if you are ready to go. And then Albert, how are you doing today?
Yeah, fine. Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to be here tonight, or this morning or afternoon, depends on whenever you are. So today we're going to be talking about scaling, which I think is a very important topic to master once you find a winning campaign. So if you have questions about scaling that haven't been yet addressed, so you can ask here in the webinar, and I and Matt will try to answer them for you.
Absolutely. And I'm Brian is saying, when can we ask questions? You can ask questions now, Brian, but what's more effective for us, because there are so many people in the chat box, because there are so many things coming in, and I'm asking questions. If you could, make sure to ask a question as we are addressing a topic, or keep them to the questions and answers at the end of the call. That's the most effective for us, and then that's what we can do to really help you out. So is that cool? Is that cool for everybody? Awesome. And yes, guys, it's not if you don't achieve results. The group is simply coming to an end because a lot of groups, what I see is what they do is they keep it open, and then it's about selling you something within PyScale. We're not about you getting another course in front of you in front of PyScale. What we want to do is either help you achieve results within this window. I think overall, a 6-week period is what that's what I do with my coaching students. If anybody's been a coaching student of mine, you know that whether it's in the program or one-on-one, it's always 6 weeks because I think that's enough time to learn, implement, and get results, and then track those results and see. So I want you guys to be implementing right now during this week and during the next week, and then we can start to see some results, whether good or bad, because we're going to be learning if it's bad and we're going to be learning if it's good. So anything that we do over the next month, we'll be learning, and we'll hope for the best. But I've had so many darn roadblocks in my life where I'm not making money. I spent like a year or two on Facebook marketing without making any money and just throwing money, all the money that I had made on Google AdWords when that wasn't around. And when I could do that, I made all this money and then I blew a lot of it that I had saved up on that, trying to learn and implement a new strategy. And I didn't have anybody to follow because Facebook was so new at the time. So I lost a lot of money, but I was learning, and that got me to this point. So if you're not learning, if you're not implementing, or I'm sorry, if you're not implementing, you're not learning. So we push the times, the time frame 4 weeks, 6 weeks total is more than enough to go through not only like the 3 hours of content that is in the course, but also the about 9 hours of content that we'll have in these webinars. We are going to be bringing somebody on. If you guys haven't seen the notification, it should have notified you. I have another webinar scheduled for Tuesday of next week because you guys requested video. You wanted to know more about video. You wanted to know more about how to use it. And I told you I'm not an expert enough to tell you, and Albert's not an expert enough to tell you about video. I've asked one of my friends to come on and tell you some more about that. So I went ahead and contacted him. He's going to come on to the webinar. That was the best time it was available for him. So look out for that notification. We want to see you on that webinar next week for basically a video rundown of what's working now on video ads. Does that sound pretty cool for you guys? Yes, awesome. I don't want to I could sit here and be like, this is what I have gotten results, and I'll show you hopefully because I'm implementing right now what strategies I've been told. I'm getting super cheap video views. That's not a sale, but I'm getting super cheap video views, and he's helping me tweak and refine things to really turn an ROI on this thing. And it's really awesome. What I've been seeing, the power of video is impressive because Facebook blatantly said they want to beat YouTube uh, as the video website, right? So what does that mean for you as a marketer? That means that they're going to give you cheap traffic and they're going to favor that video. It's like how organic reach used to be back in the day, where you could just post something. I remember Don Wilson had a case study where he grew a page to like 100,000 people in 48 hours because that was the prime point of um, organic reach. And now we're at a prime point of video. So we're going to learn how to use this structure of Pi scaled and use videos in conjunction with that. Okay, cool. Awesome. Everybody's pretty excited about that. That's video on Facebook, to be clear. We're not talking about YouTube or anything like that. Okay. So there will be a webinar on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So everybody's all over the world. Central Time. My mind works in Central Time. I apologize. I'm a St. Louis boy, born and raised in Missouri, so my mind is in Central Time. Cool. So let's get started. First of all, let me make sure. Oh, here we go. Now can you see my screen? Sorry about that. Can you guys see my screen now? Yes. I see I got a Texas guy in the room as well. That's cool, man. I was just down there not too long ago. I love Dallas. Awesome, awesome. Sorry about that. I thought that was showing. GoToWebinar is a bit of a frustration sometimes. We are recording. We have recorded. We always record. We do our best. Albert, if you would, please make sure you've hit the record button as well.
Yeah, I have.
All right, perfect. So let's bring out what we're going to talk about here today. So, scaling. Whether big or small, scaling is what we're looking for, right? And there's certain nuances that always change with scaling. The amount that you can scale, the type of scaling you can do. And basically, you want to know as a marketer that it's not just $5 into $10, $10 is into $20, and so on and so forth. The math doesn't always work in your favor in that way. People get frustrated about that because they don't know why that is the case. So what we're going to do about today is walk through those things and those frustrations and maybe what you've seen, and maybe we can go ahead and tackle some of those and make sure that it's not about just overcoming those. It's about when you see them, having the mental state for you to know that's okay when that happens, and there's other things you could do. So that's why Albert's methods are so great, because scaling is very much a multi-prong approach, right? The people in back in not too distant past used to think scaling was just increasing your budget, and no one ever thought outside the box. Now we have effective methods of scaling that are very, very effective in terms of giving you an ROI, as in terms of progressively uh, showing your product throughout the market. I've talked about it a little bit, as like what Coca-Cola does, what Budweiser does, and all these big brands do, and why you should be acting the same way, right? So why do you see Budweiser on everything? Why do you see Coca-Cola on everything? It's essentially a form of retargeting in the physical world, right? So they don't have a retargeting ad that they can kick up. They do have similar uh, interest methods where they can put, they put Budweiser puts its affiliation with the MLB. Then it does it with the NFL. Then it does it with all these other brands, because it's essentially thinking of a scaling out method where it's scaling to other interests. And then it goes internationally and does FIFA. And then it does all these other things that hit other people. So it worked well, and then they scaled it out, right? So we're doing essentially the same thing on a very micro level in comparison to budget, believe me. But it's still the same concept. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be retargeting. We're taking our product, putting it out into the market, and then we're going to be showing it progressively over time, scaling it up as much as we can, and then winding it down. One of the key points that Albert talks about that not a lot of people talk about is downscaling. And that's a key aspect for your product. Scaling comes to a close. If you start to see results, and that's why tracking using his reporting method is so important, is that when you're tracking it, you can see that it's time to downscale and lower your budget a little bit. And that's okay. Your product, for the most part, unless you're running on a $5 per day budget and a massive audience, you're never going to be in completely evergreen status, right? Your shirt's going to be unfortunately, it's going to be copied if it's successful. That's part of the game we're playing here. But we're also going to be seen in the eyeballs, and there's blindness to a design. Now, you can change up your design over time, try to refresh it. I've done that, it works. But we are going to have a beginning date and an end date to designs. So we want to be tracking in between there and scaling effectively within that window. All right. Yes, guys, session 1 and 2 are on the site. Just go to the resource tab. You can see it. Not a big deal there. All right. So, like I said, I'm not going to go over the technicalities of what Albert does, because that's very, very outlined and very, very clear within this course. But we are going to talk about scaling one. Scaling one is essentially just increasing your budget, and I'm going to simplify that. It's much more than that, as you've seen in the course. But as you on each interest, you have winning interest. Now we're at this point where we're going to scale, right? So we're going to be increasing the budget. What is the number one? I'm going to see if people can guess this. What is the number one thing to be aware of when you're scaling your budget? Comment in the section, the question box, if you can guess that. A lot of people are saying very good answers. In my opinion, and somebody did hit it, essentially did hit it, there's a ceiling point, right? You're scaling up to a ceiling. Different ads have different ceilings. And you could have the hottest ad on day one, and the hottest, and that same ad could be poor on day two because you scaled it. Why is that? You have to be aware, and Albert breaks it down better than I've ever seen, and it's part of the reason we partnered with each other when he's talking about, relative budget to audience size and things like that. You can hit a ceiling on an ad, and then it basically, what Facebook is essentially doing in the algorithm is stretching that ad out too far. That's why your ROI decreases in a PPE ad, because they're hitting more and more likes by association versus the actual likes. So you have your precise interest audience, and then you have your likes by association. What you cannot tell if you don't have a comparison of both numbers is how much of that audience is based off of likes by association and how much of that audience is actually the real targets, the ones we want to go after. And of the real targets, how many of those are buyers? So those are the things that we have to be conscious of that we do not know and we cannot know. But hitting that ceiling through Albert's tracking method is super important to do because it allows us to hit it, and then we can either keep, scale, or kill. And in most cases, you wouldn't never scale, but that's essentially what we're doing when we're running an ad. Is every day we're going to say keep, scale, or kill. Next day, keep, scale, or kill, and then you're going to make your decision. And that's why knowing your numbers and having control over your ad, and that's why we want to go down to the interest level. That's why and I showed you guys a perfect example. Did you guys see this in the group? Did you guys see this in the group? Saw that today. So um, Linda asked a good question. Likes by association and a lookalike audience. Lookalike audience is an audience that's based off of your core people, the people you want. And then Facebook reaches out to build an audience that looks just like them. The likes by association are the people that you don't necessarily want. So they're very, very different. They just somewhat sound like each other. But likes by association are the people that are associated with a given niche based off of being associated with somebody within that niche. So the perfect example is my mom is a nurse. If I like my mom's nurse statuses, or she was a nurse, but a nurse statuses and doing all, commenting on that, or I say how proud I am of my mom and fellow nurses, or if you just comment to talk about, do anything like that with a given niche, Facebook is going to toss you into that niche in terms of ads. And the reason for that is that not everybody fills out their information, and they want to build up their presence and give marketers the ability to hit people that not necessarily filled out all their info. Like, I don't have a job, well, I do now, but I didn't for a while have a job in my description. And a lot of you might not have a job in your description or your profile. And the reason that Facebook does the likes by association is to reach those people because they think you're going to have friends that you might work with that do have the information filled out. I'm starting to get hit with nurse job opportunities because I've been selling nurse shirts for so long, and I've been talking about it and doing stuff and commenting on Facebook and liking posts or liking pages or interacting with nurse pages so much that now Facebook thinks I'm a nurse. That's crazy by most standards, but at the same time it makes sense because I've interacted with the niche so much. So I hope that makes it clear. Back to this image that I have up here right now. If you haven't seen this right now, this is held pretty consistent, right? So this is actually this one improved slightly, but not up to the standard. So I think this is at like 11% right now, click-through rate. And it is a niche. I'm sorry, it's a niche that I know like the back of my hand, right? And this one is an interest that I haven't really seen much success with in the past, and this is my go-to. And I'll be open and transparent with you guys. This is in the nurse niche, and this is allnurses.com. This is the one that I've been telling you about in the past 3 webinars. That is my go-to nurse niche interest. And it's not performing in comparison to the other ones. Why? Because the audience responds differently to each offer. The audience responds differently to each offer. Now, if you were just to use the same targeting over and over and over again and combine these, or just use that good interest alone, you would think that this was not a good performing ad. Little did you know that an interest that you use sometimes is killing it And the ROI right now on our campaign is like 500%. And this it's all in here, and then this one's converted as well. So that's the power of knowing, setting yourself up for success. We probably will kill this one. My go-to, we're going to kill it, but I'm okay with that because I know that I've sold thousands of shirts to that interest before, and I know I will again. But the offer influences the audience. The audience changes to each offer. Cool. Does that make a lot of sense for people? Give me a yes in the
Hmm.
chat box, guys. I need to see some interaction. There we go. Hell yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Very clear. Perfect. So this is what's setting me up for success. This is what I'm going to be using to prep myself for the scaling. And this essentially, guys, don't be mistaken. This is essentially scaling. When you're setting up using Albert's method, you're scaled from the get-go because you're hitting more of the audience at one time than you would if you had one ad. And that's one of the major benefits I saw right away from Albert's method was that I'm going to get much more exposure to see how my audience responds than I would if I would have just had the one ad with the $20 per day or even the $5 per day because no one knows the real way that Facebook exposes it. Like I have theories based off of algorithms, based off of studying data and things like that. But if you think about combining all these into one, you might go here first, and then you might go to this one on day two. But if you don't make it out of the gate really well here, if I get 2.6% for a whole day and I'm spending $20, I might kill it the next day and never get to this winning ad or interest. So that's the real power. That's why it's cool to show it to more of the audience on an interest-based level. And that's why it's been working well for us. So, and you're scaling in a sense that you can kill off the bad and keep the good right away. Scaling doesn't always have to be done in the upward trend. Scaling can also be done by reducing your costs. That was one of the things that I emailed, if you're on my list, that I emailed you about. If I'm spending more money or I'm spending less money more effectively, then I am scaling. Reducing and controlling your costs is a form of scaling. Sweet. All right. Everybody seems to understand that. Never fall in love with a product. Great. Yep. Carlos says, I understand, but I have done bulk targeting. But taking it down to this level keeps all of your winners. Exactly. Interests. This is the same niche. And guys, some of the people might cross over here. But it's not just about hitting the people. It's about the overall performance of the ad. And engagement, again, like we've talked about, is not sales. So it has to be both when you're doing a PPE ad. You have to have good engagement followed by good sales. And if you're down to the interest level, you're prepped for both. So let's go into a niche. I want to get a shout out from somebody who's ran an ad using the pie scaled method. I don't want a random thing that you've done and if you haven't launched something using the pie scale method, don't answer here. But if you've used the pie scale method and you've launched an ad in a niche and you want to share that niche to have me deep dive into targeting, please comment it in the question box. Ooh, Second Amendment. American women. American woman. Pope Francis, biker niche. Very broad design. Um, Xavier, for that, if you're just trying to target women in an incredibly broad way, you can do a couple things here. You're going to have And I won't deep dive into the targeting of this because the targeting is going to be pretty simple. If you're trying to just hit women in a very broad sense, what is your overall objective person? What's the most broad, basic understanding? And I want you to answer, Xavier, answer this. What's the most basic understanding of your avatar that you need when targeting so broad that American woman is your niche? See if you can figure this out. Well, here's a tip, Xavier. Everybody in America is essentially proud to be an American. That's just kind of like, and Anne here said it. The majority of your audience is already going to have the sense of pride, especially with the upcoming holiday. So what you are trying to do is what Anne said here is female online buyers in the United States. So what you can do that I can't do here, I don't think, is say, I might have to be in, yeah, I spend most of my time in the Power Editor. I think somebody asked me that. So let me pull up the Power Editor real quick and get what I want to show you here. Essentially, it's the, oh, I can do it here. Never mind, sorry. Okay. It's actually changed since the last time I've seen it too. So does that make sense, Xavier? Now what would I do here? I would break it down on, and I wouldn't do 18. I would do 25 to 65. Now 18 million is a lot of people. What I could do here is that Teespring. Now I got 390,000. That's much more manageable, right? So what am I asking here, or what am I proving here? What am I proving? I'm proving that they're within the age bracket that I want. You could even reduce this down if you wanted to depending on your shirt. If it's like one of those funny shirts from, what's that? American is F. If it's one of those kind of shirts, then I would reduce this down because nobody up here is going to buy that, right? So just based off of what you're actually selling. Teespring is a good one. You can throw in all the other ones like Cafe Press, Redbubble, Zazzle, all the other sites that sell crowd-funded or custom-made T-shirts. Because if they have interest in that and they behave in this category, then that's a good target audience to have. You could also eliminate this and then break yourself down depending on how much you want to spend by platform and by gender bracket. So I'm sorry, age bracket, if I can talk today. What age brackets? I always follow what Facebook does, right? So they break down their age brackets from 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, and 55 to 64, and then 65 plus. I follow suit with that. Let me go ahead and increase that. Thank you for reminding me. I'm sitting on a 27-inch or 23-inch screen here, and it looks big for me. Xavier, is this making sense for you? Making sense for everybody else? You're going to have a massive audience where what I'm about to talk about when scaling might not necessarily apply. Okay? But when you get into like a niche, like people overthink that. They think that, oh, I got to do Second Amendment, But what you're doing with those, I'm assuming you're doing those funny patriotic shirts that I've been seeing that are perfect for 4th of July. what's important for you to do is realize that A, the most of the American public feels that sense of pride, especially around 4th of July. B, when you do something like Second Amendment for those shirts, um, the translation is not necessarily correlated. So you're not necessarily saying that if you like guns, then you like these funny patriotic shirts. That's a misconception that people have. It's not one for one. It's not mutually exclusive either. So it's just something that you need to understand with those is that not all gun owners are patriotic in the sense of wearing a funny T-shirt. They will probably buy that darn gun shirt if you got a great gun shirt, but not vice versa. So this gives you the right personality, and then hopefully your audience will be responding to your shareable or wearable shirt. It's always about putting the right product in front of them as well, and making sure the right message is given there. So with 4th of July coming up, I would say maybe speak to that in your ad. We're going to definitely be trying some 4th of July shirts because I'm the kind of guy that would wear a funny 4th of July shirt. So I think that's something cool. So let's go back to the niche. Carlos, I would be very, very careful. He's asked about do controversial issues sell, like police brutality. I wouldn't do anything like police brutality. That's just a personal preference. We don't stay away necessarily from we don't necessarily stay away from controversy, but at the same time, we don't really try to provoke it as much as either. Make sure you guys realize that more and more and more, Facebook is getting aware of the fact that we run empty pages, meaning that we don't, respond to the audience or do anything like that with some of our pages. Now, if you have running niche pages, you need to be responding with them and working with them and messaging them. But if you do the controversy thing and you just blow your page up, you're going to get eyeballs on it. And I don't know about you, but I like to stay below the radar as much as possible. No, I do not always choose that behavior, guys. That's just when I'm going so broad. I'm trying to narrow this behavior as in women's fashion and apparel buyers. It's not a bad one to throw in there, but at the same time, everybody buys a t-shirt. This is, however, getting more and more reliable over time, I've noticed. It used to be shit when it came out, and excuse my French, but it's improved over time. Okay. Art says, when do you think the cutoff day should be for the 4th of July t-shirt? Your platform that you're selling on is generally pretty open about when that day would be. I would follow up with them. Brian, I think I just showed how to niche that down, right? You wouldn't niche down any more than this. What I would do is segment the shit out of it. And there I go again with my French. Johan, are you in the United States? Johan does not have the purchase behavior option in the Ads Manager. Is there any way to enable it? Segmenting is like this, guys. And then I would split mobile and
Johan?
desktop. What's that?
Sorry, man, I jumped in for one. So, Johan, I also don't have the purchase behavior option in my ads manager. I think not all countries have this option, but I think you are doing good with just interest itself. So don't worry about the purchase behavior if you don't have that option in your ads manager.
Yeah, all you need to do is locate yourself inside the United States, and it'll trigger. The same with audience insights. So if you haven't done that, then you probably should do it and make that step anyway, because you won't have they've rolled it out to other countries, but it used to be that you wouldn't have audience insights unless you both put your English US as your language, and your location somewhere in the United States. Just an FYI. Johan, just Google it, man. And yeah, everybody should be moving towards, FYI, everybody should be moving towards the business account. You will run a business, get off your personal account and get into the business account, because Facebook does not like your personal account running ads. All right, let's go into a niche. So we talked about that. Now I want to talk about something related to a niche. Let's go to the biker niche, and see what we can't do here. So I got a massive screen here. Let me back out a little bit. Is that good for everybody? Give me a yes in the chat box if this is visible for you, because it was taking up literally all of my screen. Sam asked, when do we do that? At what point? Now. It's move to a business manager now. After you get off this webinar, move to the business manager. Brian asked, how do I avoid people like you in the nurse niche when I want to get buyers? Brian, there's 8 million people in the nurse niche. If you want to just exclude St. Louis, you can do that. I won't come up. But I'm the least of your worries, trust me. All right, cool. Bikers. I think, Carlos, you're talking about bikers, right? Like motorcycle riders. Hardcore, yeah, sweet. So like motorcycle gang ladies. All right, gotcha. I forgot exactly what you said. You said biker niche. Okay, just in general. So Addo asked, just real quick, is any niche that can be profitable for Teespring? Yes, any niche for the most part can be profitable on Teespring. You just have to put the right product in front of them. People love buying stuff that they're interested in, so why would any niche not be profitable? Unless the traffic doesn't give you a good enough cost to convert at a profitable range, then it's all about putting the right product in front of people. People love to have things that they are interested in, and they get to express the fact that they're interested in it. I sold shirts to people who own cows. That means somebody that loves owning a cow so much that they would tell the rest of the world that they own cows. That was like the furthest thing on my mind. I've sold shirts in very weird niches, and everybody loves to be expressing themselves in some fashion. So, all right, bikers. If you guys have questions about the business account, Google it. I'm not here to teach you about business accounts. I'm here to tell you that you need to get one, but you need to Google it and be self-productive here. All right, so let's go into audience insights. Good Lord. There we go. So we're going to start with biker, just to prove the theory, because I've done this before, that this is not a great place to start because it doesn't really give you a terrible amount, right? So bikers gives you 4,000 to 5,000. So what we need to do is understand our niche a little bit more, right? So we're going to go over to Facebook, and we're going to do biker club. See if we can't find ourselves a little bit. Bikers club. Nothing really big. Let's hit this little magnifying glass. What you can do, Carlos, and everybody in this area, when you're trying to figure out more about these, when you're trying to figure out what can I do, what do I do, you can go ahead and say Harley Davidson. Generally a bad interest for you to go after. Why? Because it's effectively the biggest celebrity in the motorcycle club niche. Now, there's a difference between uh, there's a difference between a celebrity that is good and a celebrity that is bad. Everybody on this call knows who Tony Robbins is, right? Give me a yes in the chat box if you know who Tony Robbins is. Anthony, that's fantastic. Anthony says he's worked for him before. So everybody knows who Tony Robbins is. But have you bought a product from him? Have you followed his coaching? Have you been to one of his events? Have you have you at least attended or watched on YouTube one of his seminars? If the answer to no is that, if no, yeah, Anthony Robbins, yeah. If the answer is no, then you're not essentially the right person to be targeting for. Tony Robbins, when he's running a Facebook ad, I imagine has to do a little bit more of a targeting than just targeting himself, because he is so big. It's like Tiger Woods, or like that's the level that Tony Robbins has gotten to. Tiger Woods is at that same level. Everybody in the world knows who Tiger Woods is. A good portion of those people do not give a shit about golf, right? So what you're doing, if by targeting Tiger Woods, if you're trying to run a golf shirt, is hitting a whole bunch of people that probably just know him because of the scandal or know him because he's the best golfer in the world. Michael Jordan, big ass celebrity. Sorry, I am all about the French today. I think somebody called me out and said it was because I'm tired. But Michael Jordan is the best. I hope I'm not offending anybody. Michael Jordan is the best basketball player that's ever lived. Everybody knows who that name is, but you probably have not bought one of his shoes, not bought one of his cars from him, or his dealerships, not watched any of his games, and never going to wear any of his gear, right? And so you're not the right person. Harley Davidson, no. Michael Jordan is the normal. Not the normal? Somebody said normal. Michael Jordan is the best, not LeBron. Sorry, Anthony. I think Mikey Six Fingers would disagree. So Harley Davidson is on the level inside that niche. So everybody knows who Harley Davidson is. They might think that this bike is really cool, so they might like it. 4,459 likes does not mean that's 4,459 bike riders that like that photo. So that's the mentality we have to get in here. But it's a great starting point, right? A cool thing to do is to see who liked it by this page and see if there's another like club in here, something that you might, know or might ring a bell. Here's Throttle Life. That might be something. But this is something just to quickly get yourself into the niche that you don't understand, because this is a liked by the page, right? So let's see if we can't figure out. Here's Kegel Harley Davidson. See if they're any big. Nope. Some people say, did I eat breakfast? Yeah, I've actually had 3 meals today. I've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning. So let's go ahead. That was just a quick way of doing it, but I know I can do it here as well. So let's go ahead and say Harley Davidson. This is a massive screen. I'm going to go over to likes. My affinity up. Now, I'm on. We can do all here. Let's check this out. We can do all here, and see where I was, where I'm going here. Now, this is the discrepancy level here that I wouldn't necessarily exclude women, but I might run a men's shirt just because it's the majority of the audience. One of the reasons for that is that A, I can be much more targeted, but B, these people might be included in this audience because of these people, right? these guys are much more likely to be the passionate ones when it's skewed this heavy. Now, you could run a woman specific shirt and reach biker women and give them something that maybe is not addressed in the market, right? If you guys have followed me for a while, you know that one of the things I got started in was in a dog niche that was relatively new, and I built a fan page for it when there was only 70,000 people in the entire world that were liking this on Facebook. I built a page up to 40,000 of them, and I started selling shirts to them. The number one reason that I was able to do, and this was all organic too, which was just awesome, I was selling thousands of shirts to them because they couldn't go to a store and buy it. No one was making this dog niche shirt. And they couldn't go to Walmart, they couldn't go to the mall, they couldn't do anything. So if you're in a niche where you can find a small piece of the population and give them something very unique to them, you're having a great chance of success in selling it to them. But I'm going to focus on men, and I'm going to go back over to my page likes, pop my affinity up. Motorcycle house sounds cool. Bagger bags. Okay, so these are two of my buddies who own a Harley Davidson dealership. So I'm going to go ahead and assume this is a great niche to go after. So let's see if we can't pull up bagger bags. Nope. How about?
Hey man, I think you can try motorcycle.com.
Yeah, you can definitely do motorcycle.com. Let me see this real quick. So we found a very small interest, but the cool thing about it is you're going to get enough people to really build out a good set of data. When I'm layering down in my affinity levels here to try to up this as much as possible, what I'm doing is trying to find something between like 50 and 100,000 people, because that's enough people to get really, really concentrated on the likes and associations within that group of people. So you can see how everything over here is basically about motorcycles. Now, the bigger I go, the harder it's going to be for those to be true, and they're going to get diluted over time. Perfect example is entering nursing into this and seeing what comes up. Why do I not want a big audience? Watch this. Woman freebies, 12 tomatoes, Amazon fashion, Joyce Meyer Ministries, women get it free. How many of these things say nurse in it? 2. So the reason for that is it's 9 to 10 million people. When I'm layering down, I want to get down to small. So the likes and associations not the likes by association, the likes and the associations within that audience can be, up to the top, can be brought up to the top. The cream of the crop can be up here, and we can see. So we got Voodoo Bike Works, obviously about motorcycles. We got John Shope's. I think I'm going to look at this one, see if this one comes up. It's amazing. But these are interests that I would go after, see if they can work. You can always pop by affinity and pop by audience size if anything's decent here, like Indian Motorcycle. That's a great up and coming brand. I think it's been around forever, but they're really putting some marketing behind it as of late. And so these are the interests that I would go after, Carlos. Let's go to motorcycle.com. What am I doing? It's even smaller interest, which is amazing. I would have thought that would have been bigger. Let's sorting by relevancy. We know that this is a great interest to go after. Moto Mummy. Moto Mummy. If you're by the way, if you're in this niche, or you're doing niche research and you just do what I just did, where I look at it, I'm like, Moto Mummy, what is that? And you click it open and it's relevant, it's probably a good interest to go after. Because that means that even though I've sold biker shirts, I still don't know what this is, and it's got 124,000 people that like it. So, does that help you out, Carlos? Waiting for Carlos. Question: in a big niche such as biker, how much money would you spend to find out if the design works? I would spend the exact same amount of money that I would in a small niche. I've addressed this before. The question somebody brought up in the group was about Forex. Like, you know, can selling t-shirts in the Forex niche work? Or how much should I spend in the Forex niche in order to try to make a t-shirt work? In a big niche or a small niche, the conversion cost that we need to achieve is the same. In an expensive niche or in a cheap niche, our conversion costs for our shirts do not change. Just because you're in the Forex niche or just because you're in a big niche does not mean you can all of a sudden charge $40 for your t-shirt. You're still going to charge $24.95 or $24.99, and you still need to convert at like the $6 to $10 range to make good profit depending on your platform. So regardless if you're in a big niche or a small niche, Albert's testing method will help you get to that level where you're achieving a conversion at a good rate, at a rate that will help you, scale over time and it still achieve those rates. I'm not the kind of guy that says you got to spend $100 in a niche before you really know if it's going to sell or not. No. Bernie says his brain is starting to come alive. Great content. Awesome. Rich says, confused when you said audience from 50 to 100,000, is that per page like motorcycle.com? No. What I'm saying is that when I have it up here, to get a real good concentration of people, and I say 50 to 100,000, that's a target. I've seen it good at 200 or so, or even a little bit more. But I'm trying to get down into the niche to an interest that is around 50 to 100,000 people, preferably on the upper end of that spectrum. And that will help me get great interest down here. That's what I'm trying to achieve. You see how none of these really get all that big? I mean, like some of them are pretty big, right? But they're, the affinity's not that high. We're trying to get good, solid, large interest that we go in my trusty niche. Oh. 350 to 400, my trusty niche. See how they're all like 500, 520, 440, 440, a couple 100,000, but their affinities skyrocketed. That's why I know this is good, and I know the interests attached to this are good. Some of them you can't target anymore, like Mighty Nurse or Merce's Rock, but these guys down here are solid. Okay? Does that help that clear up, Rich? Carlos brings up a great point. So he was asking how much money to, and this is great for people to understand as well. So he said a big niche has lots of interest to go after, right? Because it's more developed, there's more of a community, there's more people within it. But when you are targeting a big niche, this is why I like going after big niches, because we're going to talk about a critical method of scaling out. When you're scaling out, you're finding more interests. If you go after the small interests, if you go after the small niches, you're not going to have a lot of scaling out capability. If you're selling I'm trying to think of a dog. If you're selling a miniature poodle shirt, you can't scale out to Labrador and sell that same shirt as far as the same design. You'd have to change the design up. If you're selling a nurse shirt and you got an interest and it's working, you have tons of other interests to go out to before you ever have to change the design up. The biker niche is huge, so that gives you more scale out capability, but that doesn't justify you spending more money to test and improve your design. Does that make sense, Carlos? Come on, Carlos.
Hey, many people are asking about in the group asking about which four interests we would start with for testing. Maybe you can show, demonstrate, and explain real quick for nurses, for example.
Oh, for nurses? Just gonna give all my secrets away today.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, so it's easy, guys, right? Sorry, let me give a sip of water. Sweet. So somebody brings up a good point. What I like to be as far as affinity level is 20 or above. I used to say 13, but as time has gone on and Facebook has increased its reach, 20 and above is the justified level for me now. Okay, so um, if I'm looking for which four interests to start from, right, when I'm testing an Albert's method and I've narrowed myself down, I'm layered into the niche, I've gone as far down as I can, who's going to tell me which four interests I can start from? And I would start with. Rich, I've been teaching the nurse niche for uh, 8 months now, and no, I'm not getting out. Mark hit the nail on the head, and Antonio. The four most relevant. I would start with relevancy. Relevancy is the mixture, if you look at it, relevancy is the mixture between audience size and affinity. That's why there's higher affinities down here than up here, but that's because this audience size is massive. Now, I have to be aware of the fact that this page, and I believe this page, are all marketer created. That means they're a guy like me that has gone out there and either bought likes or generated likes, and he might necessarily not have been keeping up with that said page. When you do that, 17 likes on a 643,000 person, 10 likes, 30 likes, 32 likes, 317, 248. This is a photo post 9 hours ago on a page with 643,000 people that like it. Granted, he has a lot of shares, but the interaction is small in this, isn't it? Wouldn't you think that 643,000 people would get more of a reach? Now, why has that happened? And this guy's even officially branded himself. That has happened because he's probably pushed a lot of shirts. He's probably pushed a lot of ads. He's probably linked out. He links out quite a bit to his blog, which means he's taking people away from Facebook. Be aware that Facebook doesn't necessarily like you having people leave. So his content and his reach has gone significantly down. And when that happens, his interest as a whole goes down. It's very targeted, but the capability and his reach and the interest itself, once you plug it into the audience, into the ads manager, might be a lot smaller if it's even there. Some of the marketer pages don't even make it to the cut. It's not there. It's not there because, guys, I talked to you about it before in the last two webinars. It's not up till recently, it's not a website that exists somewhere in Google, gets a lot of Google traffic. It's not an association that has a real physical presence, whether online or brick and mortar. It's not an organization, not a magazine. It doesn't have a substantial presence outside of Facebook. It was created within Facebook, then somebody tried to take it out. It wasn't created as a website with traffic coming into Facebook. Which one do you think Facebook's going to favor? The guy that created a fan page to try to drive traffic off of Facebook, or the guy that had a website who's now trying to drive traffic to Facebook? Which one do you think he's going to favor? Exactly. Website guy. Perfect. Everybody seems to understand it. So I would start your way down this list. You're going to hit this one, this one, this one, and this one. These are the top 4 in the niche that have a presence. Last I checked, iSupport does. Yep. See how that's a precise interest? It has these are both lower cases. And see how if I add, check this out. Here's a key indication too of audience overlap, or at least the general size of this audience is bigger. See if I enter all nurses. Whoops. So this interest is a couple hundred. It's more than just 200,000, right? This interest was 5 to 600 alone, and we proved out that this one is 300 to 400. But in total, they only have 700,000 together, where the math should get them almost to 1 million. So that's audience overlap, but you are reaching new people. Right. So that's where I would start in any niche. Once you've narrowed yourself down in the audience insight tool, and if you guys, if you got to play ball, right? So if you don't get good interest in the audience insights tool, if it doesn't lead you to what you want to find, what you're looking for, then just Google top biker magazines. Ten seconds. And then start targeting these guys. Or top biker clubs in US. Okay? Makes sense, guys? No. Anthony brings up a good question, but the answer is no. When you run each interest, say to NurseCom, do you exclude I support nurses for that ad set? No, I do not. Because we're not just focused on the fact that they overlapped. We're focused on the fact that the individual ads ran to the same people could perform differently, because it's not we hit guy 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. We hit random people throughout the audiences. The chances of overlapping are very, very slim. And the general performance of how those are introduced to that market, to that interest, determine how that ad is going to work over time. So if out the gate it's really good, chances are it's not going to perform all that bad over time. It's going to be harder and harder for it to perform in a poor manner. So what we're doing is testing each ad, yes, to individual interests that overlap, but it's how that audience or that group of people that first see it respond to it that really drives the performance of it. Cool? Michael says, you talk a lot about not starting with marketing pages that are only in Facebook. Would you still recommend using them when scaling out? If you can find them in the ads manager, yeah, scale out with them. As long as they fit the criteria, right? This is I wouldn't say like number 200 I would target, but I would start here. And if you can pull these up, if they even show, then I would do it. Like I would target I support nurses. This is a marketer page. But I think, I don't know what came first, the chicken or egg here, but he has a pretty darn good established store as well. So we're at the top of the hour, guys. We started about an hour ago. We're going to try not to make this a massive marathon or a half marathon or a 2/3 marathon, but give me a yes in the chat box if you're having a fun time, whether it's you're learning how to scale, if you're prepping yourself for success here. Go ahead and give me a yes in the chat box while I take a drink. Awesome. Everybody seems to have a great time. Yes, there will be a replay. I don't know how many times I have to. I know people come on at different times, but yes, there will be a replay. The replay will be put in the members area in the resource tab. Cool. All right, guys. So when we are scaling out, I want to talk about something that not necessarily is covered in the course, but something that I have found that's very, very effective. We've covered it in slight detail before, but what we want to do is be aware that interests change throughout age demographics, right? If you are a nurse and you just got out of school, right, and you just started your nursing career, so happy to be a nurse, feeling so much pride to be a nurse, would you have the same interests, especially on something like Facebook, than the about to retire nurse has? The about to retire nurse has put in 30 years, worked day in and day out, so much pride for being a nurse. Both of them are prime suspects for buying a t-shirt. Do they have the same interests? The answer is no, right? Very, very not. Very, very no. So, um, Russell, yes, I would go after I support nurses because it has good engagement and it has a solid presence. It comes up in the ads manager tool, but it has a solid store. I've seen the store, I've seen their funnel, it's great. So they're a good page to go after. Maybe they missed the mark on getting eliminated from the ads manager tool, but that maybe is what happened. So now we're going to be talking about age demographic scaling out. So when we're reviewing our ads, we're going to see, using Albert's method, which age demographics worked. It might have been the young people, it might have been the old people, it might have been both. It might be the people in between. So we're going to figure that out. But what we can do is realize that what we're looking at right now in front of our face is a collective amount of data that has brought the cream of the crop to the top. And now we're looking at 25 to 65 women. What is the best interest that hit that entire market? Right? And that entire ad set, we're doing, mobile and we're doing desktop, even though that doesn't change as much as we're about to show. But we're hitting this entire demographic. We're hitting this entire interest of allnurses.com. And now what we want to do is respond to the individual people who responded to our shirt. So we're adjusting with the data. We're not just staying constant. We're not just, letting it go forever. We're going to be changing. So think about it back to our example with Coke. Think about back to our example with Budweiser. We got different products for different people. They got Bud Light hits the party scene. Budweiser hits the the MLB scene. But also, when you're using the same product, you can position it in different ways. So when you're hitting the same product to this entire demographic and you know it's a winner, now we're going to go look at the individual ad sets to make sure that we can adjust to them. So what do I mean? I'm going to go to the same interest that I layered down on that I proved was successful. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go, actually, let me write down real quick. The first thing that I would do is that, say I have a couple winners here, say all nurses and nurse.com. So all nurses and nurses.com were my winning interests from Albert's test, right? And these two guys failed. Now I'm going to look at both of these interests in the reports that Albert shows you and see which age demographics responded. And now let's say that for all nurses, it was the 25 to 34 and the 35 to 44. And then for nurses.com, for some weird freaking reason, 45 to 54 and 55 to 64 were the people that responded. So does it give me any kind of advantage to continue running the ad for anybody above 45 for all nurses or anybody below 45 for nurses? No, right? So we're going to cut that out. We're going to remove those people from when we're scaling. And now we're going to adjust accordingly. So the cool thing that we can do, and this sucks because you're not going to see it the way I'm zoomed in here. You're not going to see it do it down here. But be aware of what's here, right? Try to kind of remember what's going on here. And now with all nurses, we know that's a winning interest. We know that the demographics are winning. I'm going to scale down to 25 to 34 and realize that that was a bad example because the people don't follow. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Here we go. Whoops. Freaked me out for a second. I thought literally nobody was in that age demographic for that interest. So now we got 100,000 to 150,000 people. Yeah, it was just took me off guard for a second there. So we got 25 to 34 women in the allnurses.com, 100 and almost 150,000 monthly active people in that interest, and these already responded to our shirt. Now there's nuances, interest here that changed that now we can target. New things have made their way into this list that were not there before. And so the cool thing is that similar to our different, how we were showing the example earlier where the audiences, yes, overlapped, but we did pick up like 200,000 people that weren't in the one audience before, we now can hit more people. And a big thing about this demographic is that it's coming out of, it's like school stuff. And I think this association just made its way up too. So it got 3 more interests that I think this one is new as well, but I don't think it comes up in the ads manager because it's a marketer page. But this is an official company. This is an official company. And this is an official association. And these are these are directly related to people that were recently in school, these two. And then this one right here is a well-known association in the United States for nurses. So now you can target these in your scale out to that ad set, the 25 to 34. We're talking about progressively scaling out over time and more interest that we can hit. We got a possible 500,000-600,000 people that we can target, and depending on how much of that doesn't correlate over, but we can hit lots of new people and lots of new potential buyers. Do you guys see the power in that? Give me a yes in the chat box if you do. Perfect. Sweet. So remember the screen, take a mental screenshot or something. So let's go back up. Haha. The mastery thing's gone. We got the nursing drug handbook stayed. Scrubs magazine came around. And We Are Nurses came up. I'm not guaranteeing you that any interest will come up, but what I am telling you and guaranteeing you is that we'll provide new opportunities for you some of the time. And they're very, very effective and they're very, very targeted. Because now you're looking at a good solid set of data on a demographic and an interest that you've layered down into that you've already proven with dollars, right? Dollars have gone out the door on all nurses. You know it's hot for your shirt. Now you're looking at the specific demographic that's converting, and then you're going to allow yourself to scale out using very, very targeted age demographic data. And then Honey comes in and throws a curveball. We're not going to talk about that right now, man. Cool. So the same thing would happen with nurses.com or nursecom, sorry. We said in the 45 and above, but the 45 to 54. And yes, some of these interests we saw in the other niche. We were very, very closely related with each other, and not the other itch, but the other interest in the other age set. We picked two interests that were very close to each other, but what we're proving out is that the ones that we're going to target are very, very, very targeted for these demographics. You're going to get a lot of high success rate with these, especially if you've done this on a second tier scale, right? You did your first tier of scaling 1.0, you're going up. Now you're scaling out in your second tier. So you can do that with the next demographic as well. And you're going to get a very small set of data up in this, in any niche really. And you're going to get a small set of data. But Cleveland Clinic made its way up. I would be careful there. And then the other ones look like they're relatively the same. So you're just proving it out. You're going to have good ones to target. And that's a scale out method for you guys. You guys digging that? Give me a yes in the chat box if that's cool, useful data for you to take advantage of right away. It's like a never ending stream of Skittles. I love that. That would be delicious, by the way. All right, guys. So we're an hour and a half in. I can feel my voice starting to hurt a little bit. Bruce, the replay, same amount of time that the last ones went. So the replay will come up and put in the members area, hopefully by the end of the day. It takes a while to upload and render 2 to 3 hours of content, though. So, Sam says his eyes are starting to wane. Well, you got to get those gunner glasses, man. Because you're going to be behind a computer if you want to do this t-shirt game. That's for sure. So, guys, we have gone over some scaling. We scaled up, we scaled out. Lookalike audiences are very well explained in the course. You make it off of your clickers. You can make it off the conversion pixel. You can make it off your page, but I've never really gotten great results off the page. I don't know about you, Albert. But, because those people are just people that like it, not necessarily like, or, purchased your page or at least even showed intent So stick with the lookalike audience off of the clickers or the conversion pixel. And now, do you have any other questions that we can answer on scaling up and out? Go ahead and do QQ with your question, guys. And by the way, it's pertaining to scaling. I'm not going to be answering how to target twins. When you make an ad to the new page likes group, do you target that demographic to start? I'm not sure, Brian, what you mean there. If you could reiterate that in a different way. Linda says, is it possible to only hit a person once with regular targeting, and have them go exclusively into the retargeting groups? The best way to do that, you can do that with clickers, Linda. You cannot do that with, unfortunately, page views. But you can help minimize, and this is a tactic I taught in my AI targeting course, exclusion of your custom audience in your main ad will help reduce your frequency and help a PPE ad perform better over time. And let me get that an example of that. So, shoot, hold on. Website traffic, name test. So this is not how to properly set one up. I'm just creating it to do it. So I have my custom audience here, which would be built off of your page properly. So go through Albert's videos to show how to properly do this. But if you highlight over here and you see this little drop down here, you can hit exclude this audience. Now, what does that mean that's going to happen? As people click and get gathered into your custom audience, they then will be excluded from this ad. They will not be shown this ad again, but they have to click to the website. It cannot help reduce the frequency of the people who just get viewed, unfortunately. If a pixel could fire on a view, we'd all have much more effective ads in terms of frequency and cost. But of course, Facebook wouldn't want that now, would they? Ali says, why do we want to keep frequency down? Isn't high frequency just a cheap way to do retargeting? No. Retargeting is a cheap way of doing retargeting. Your PPE ad will be less effective over time and cost you more money the longer it runs and the higher the frequency goes. Okay? Your retargeting is always going to be cheaper than a PPE ad, or any ad for that matter. Retargeting is the cheapest form of ads outside of a video that there is. But then there's retargeting using video, and that's even super cheaper. Retargeting is the cheapest way to run an ad because they've already seen it, right? And so when you have a group full of people who have seen it and clicked to your website and showed intent, and that's solely who you're showing an ad to, your click-through rate's going to be higher, and they're going to respond better because it's familiar to them. You're taking the chance, if you don't reduce your frequency on a PPE ad, you're taking the chance that, yeah, you might hit the same guy over again, but do you know how long, when you're targeting 1 million people, how long it takes and how many people are seeing your ad before you hit that guy for the second time? Or you could have a group of 1,000 people who see your ad a ton of times. Retarget the crap out of your retargeting audience. Shove that ad in front of them as much as you want. But don't do that with people that haven't seen it before. Makes sense, Ali? Manuel says not in Germany. I don't know what that means. Seems to be funny though. Uh, Antonio says, after how long days do you check winning age groups? I like to look at it. I'm a report guy, so I like to look at it all the time. I'll look at it a couple times. Um, maybe day two. I mean, after sales, obviously. So after getting lots of sales, but the reliable scale out for me, and maybe you want to even address this, Albert, first. But I would say after you're getting like 10 to 20 sales, there you're going to get a large amount of diverse data and really see who's the buyers, right? You can't judge on one sale that women aged 25 to 34 are your buyers, right? You're not. That's just that could be just happenstance, and there could be never a sale happen again. After 10 to 20 sales, you got a good amount of pixels, and you might see one is really concentrated. It might be 10 conversions at women 25 to 34, and then nowhere else. So that's where you're going to start having a really effective amount of data. I would look at it, see who's buying, but I wouldn't take action on it until that range. What about you, Albert?
Yeah, I usually check after above 20 sales.
Yeah, see, cool. If you have an OCPM of 1, why rise? Ali, I don't know what that means. Mark says, I see that I had a page view of 95 and my audience is still less than 20. Does that happen often? A couple things might be happening there. It's probably just Facebook not updating the audience just yet. It does take like 24 hours. It's not like active update. It takes at least, I should say, it takes at least 24 hours before. I've had 20 people visit the page in a single day, and I didn't have an audience ready and approved and gathered until a following 24 hours after that. So that's probably just Facebook taking its time and updating, Mark. Ali says, is this true? If you scale out 45 to 65 plus, then the OCPM will be higher because the most of the older individuals will be on desktop, and desktop feeds are more expensive. Not necessarily. Desktop generally, yes, more expensive than mobile, but you know, there are violations to that rule or general rule, right? I've had very, very, very cheap traffic that was expensive on mobile because the design was very visible on desktop versus mobile. So it's all about lining everything up in the correct fashion, and that will help you down the road to make sure it's there. I mean, as a rule, less older people are on a general rule. Less older people are on their phones than that. But I got a grandpa shirt running right now where the mobile traffic's getting stuff through the roof. So technology, including Facebook, is being more and more adopted throughout all age groups as time goes on. So never ignore it. And the only way to truly know an answer to that, Ali, a question like that, is for you to test. Mark says, just to make sure you don't create a lookalike audience from clickers or pixel if the audience is under 300, correct? Is that's the new marker, right, Albert? Isn't it 300 conversions before you can make a pixel fire or a pixel lookalike?
Conversion pixel.
Yeah,
The last time I made it is above 150, if I'm not mistaken.
I could have swore somewhere I did see somebody say it got bumped to 300
Mhm.
though. Yeah,
Maybe that's for website
yeah, yeah.
visitors. But for conversion pixel, I think it's above 100.
Oh, okay, cool. Albert's much more aligned with the day to day with this. So, all right, just reading through here. All right. I think we answered most of those. Rich says, I'm 66 years old and I'm on my smartphone a lot. Yeah, awesome. Art, again, in my experience, Art asked us this question. In your experience, do you see more sales going towards mobile versus desktop? You know what I'll see? I'll see lots and lots and lots of clicks on mobile, cheap traffic, but the conversions always come in on desktops. I mean, I convert on mobile, but I'm just saying lots and lots of conversions come on desktops. Why? Think about situations. Think about where you're at when you're on your phone and on Facebook. That's why a retargeting ad that says, "Did life get in the way?" is really good because you're talking to people who are probably checking their phone at work when they shouldn't be. They should be, paying attention to the work, but they're not. They should be not texting and on the Facebook while they're driving. They should, all these different situations are out with their family or out with their friends or out with their wife. When you're on your mobile and on Facebook, you're not generally sitting with your wallet next to you ready to pull a credit card out. Why do you guys think that Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all these guys are trying to make it so easy to buy? Have you guys seen the Pinterest buttons to direct to Shopify stores? Why do you think they're doing that? They want you to make it as easy as possible because pulling out your credit card is a pain in the butt. Kenny Smith asks, so could you quickly summarize the ad scaling process? I mean, I can try from a 10,000 foot level. So what I would do is scale up. So increasing your winning budgets, cutting your losers, obviously is the first step. Increasing your winners. Once you have hit the ceilings on those, scale out into new interests. Repeat the process that you just did with the first interest. Cut the losers, increase the winners. Once you have a good amount of data built up on your pixel, on your custom audience, you can the ad that you created for retargeting can kick in, pick up those initial clickers. You can build a lookalike audience off the clickers or off the conversion pixel or both and run those. Now, when you do that, you can be less picky about what you do. You don't have to scale down by or scale out by age or segment by age. I'm sorry. You don't have to do it by the gender because Facebook is pretty darn good at creating a lookalike audience. And if all your guys on your custom audience were in a certain age demographic, your custom audience of lookalikes is probably going to be a majority in that same age demographic and then slightly spread out into the others. Okay? Ali says, if people are more likely to buy on desktop, is it a good strategy to focus retargeting ads only for desktop? No, because you still get people that retarget on mobile, and the people that are in your retargeting audience have seen it. If you introduce scarcity, if you introduce objection overcoming, like saying, there's only a few left. That's scarcity, and that's, oh, this shirt will be around forever, or like, don't miss out. That shirt it's not going to be around forever. You only have 4 days left. That's both scarcity and overcoming an objection. So you can introduce that kind of language and force the person to buy when he's on mobile. Make sense? So when do you implement the lookalike? Well, obviously when you implement the lookalike, when you have enough data to do either the conversion pixel or the custom audience. Once you don't have enough data to do it, then you wouldn't implement it. And it's the third stage, like he has in the course, of implementing. Okay, guys, my voice is starting to really die. I'm constantly drinking water here. We've done um, 8 hours of talking this week on this webinar alone. So I want to address the questions, the questions that we have, so that we can close up this marathon and these immersion sessions the right way. Does that sound pretty good for everybody? Sounds good. Master Pixel course. Guys, I am, one of the stuff that you guys asked me for more information was about the Master Pixel. That was in the takeaway from the last one. So you wanted to know what exactly is this Master Pixel? What is it about? What are we doing? I'm actually talking with Shane. Shane is a close friend of mine. We're in a group together of people who are in the mid six figures or above in t-shirt marketing, and it's like a closed group of about 20 couple people, and it looks very, very promising, guys. He's talking to Facebook about everything that's going on, and I've asked him to come on to a webinar, and we're working out the details for you guys. So that's what you guys wanted me to do. So that's what we're going to do. Yes, the videos in the membership area is not going to go away. It's just the Facebook group. Does that sound pretty good about the Master Pixel thing, guys? Because I'm working hard on it, and we're trying to work out details, iron out details. If that's something that you want. Everybody's saying yes. Perfect. All right, guys. So let's go through the questions that were on the thread, and then we will go from there. And sorry for my coughing and clearing my throat. So James, hopefully you're on here. I see you everywhere, but if you want to hit me up, if you're not on here and you're hearing this voice, you can hit me up and we can ask more. But if you got any other questions on scaling, we can definitely do that. Kenny, yeah, I have a great opinion on video ads. They work and they are cheap. That's why we got a webinar on Tuesday for video ads to be explained to you guys. The drop dead date of the Facebook group will be closed 4 weeks from today. So get off your butt, take your notes, and implement the stuff. Mohammed says more website conversion pixel and in depth. It's not really a question, but I think what he's saying here is that he wants to know when to run a website conversion ad. You can run a website conversion ad once you have a pixel that is built up enough for it, right? So if you're running either the master pixel, which a master pixel, guys, is not really a master pixel till you have a lot of conversions. It's not going to help you right off the bat until you have so much information that it knows what a t-shirt buyer is, not necessarily what a t-shirt buyer in your niche is. Uh-oh, did I lose everybody? Albert? Hello?
Terry not hearing his voice here.
Sorry about that. Good old Uverse. Uverse AT&T Internet for you. There we go. So where did I drop off at? Okay, so I dropped off around the Facebook group closing. Why is it closing? Well, as I explained in the post, in the welcome post, if you guys read through here, it's about the fact that this group is solely for you to be taking action, and this course is all about you getting you into the ROI. If I give this as a resource for you to maybe come back or maybe not come back in, check out and read and follow the threads and see what's going on, then you'll never maybe even take action on it. My intention and my goal and what I'm trying to do is to get you guys to take action and get onto this content and implement it. It's not a course like a school course, right? We have a course that's easily digestible. It's 3 hours, and you can implement it within a couple of weeks, and that's what we're intending you for to do. So I'm basically trying to force the hand of people from diddle daddling, and I'm trying to force the hand of you from doing just shiny object syndrome and then going to the next thing without implementation. The problem with shiny object syndrome is that buying lots of courses is fine as long as you are learning and implementing from them. If you buy a lot of courses and do nothing and don't learn from any of them, then yeah, that's bad. Okay? So Chris Record says it really well. He's like, he buys everything because he wants to learn. So he wants to learn from everybody. He even says he buys through a funnel for products he doesn't need just so he can learn the funnel. Because every time he's doing that, he's learning. But most people will make their way through a funnel or through a course or never get to the course to begin with and never get any use out of it. So we're trying to force the hand of you guys. We're not here to do anything. You know how to reach me. You're on my list. If you want more information, we will try to do that down the road, and you will get information by being on my list. But at the same time, this course needs to be implemented. So that's why we're closing the group, and I hope you guys all see what I'm trying to do here. Got it? Everybody can hear me, right?
Yeah, can hear you.
Cool. The course itself will stay open. I'm not going to ever close that. That you guys paid money for that. You guys paid money for the hard work that Albert put into that. But the Facebook group was something we added. I mean, if you guys bought initially, then you know that this was something that we added on during the launch, actually, out of request. So this was an add-on to it. It was not included in the price, but we're trying to give you the most that we can out of it. Perfect. I'm gonna give me a bunch of yeses. We got a couple hundred of you guys on here today. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm trying to do with closing the group and you're online with it. If you're cool with it, and if you're going to implement it, because eventually this group is going to go away. I want you to get implementation. Implementation only comes with literally a form of scarcity. I'm sorry, but it's a marketing tactic at the end of the day. Pamela, we don't have any pending members, so go to the group link request in the membership area and request to join the group. I can't add you. I'll even reset here. No pending members. Oh, pending members. Here we go. Approve. Approve. There you go. All right. People must take action, or make people take action. Action is better than meditation. Thank you, Bernie. That's great. We'll try to get off my butt and start implementing. Albert, thank you. So I'm on your list by buying PyScaled? Yes. No, you're on my list if you bought PyScaled. Cool. All right, guys. So question time. Excuse me. All right, so website conversion. I dropped off when I was doing this. Now, website conversion is very, very good for you to use once you have the data appropriate to use that. If you have a blank pixel, if you have a untested targeting, you're going to be shooting in the dark by using a website conversion ad straight out the gate, right? So that's why we like the PPE method. We can get viral interest. We can get people converting into our pixel. We can get information gathered by reaching those right people. And we can test out targeting. We can reach more effectively, in our experience, using that than the website conversion pixel out of the dark. Now, that being said, next steps down the road, website and conversions are ultimately your goal. This is something that's evolved over the last couple of months that we're telling you that is cool and something that you can use, especially if you have a master pixel. A master pixel, guys, is something that there is a lot of data stored in. Shane is not a guy that messes around. He gets about 400 to 500 conversions per day on his pixel. That's a lot. That's not even all the fires that he gets. I mean, they're not even hitting all the sales, right? Because the pixel sometimes doesn't even fire. He has thousands and thousands of information stored in here. So for you to think that you're going to create a master pixel right away is not necessarily the case. Now, that being said, you can work your way there. We want you to work your way there, but that's going to take some time and that's going to take some consolidated effort. If you're running niche pixels, if that's what you've focused on, then you're going to have to do that in a more general sense. Now, I think that you can use, based off of what I'm seeing, you can use one pixel to gather up the general profile of a shirt buyer. Then you can, and then you can store ad set level information about niches. That's a possibility. Website conversion is something that you use downline, what they call downline. So we talked about product introduction. We want to do that, and we want to get that shout out to as many people as possible using the PPE ad. Now, the website conversion is the tail end of that. The website conversion works really well once you have a matured pixel or you understand the targeting, and then you implement a website conversion with both those and a lookalike audience, or or the new interest. And the scaling 2.0 or lookalike audience time frame is where you can throw in the mix of the website conversion ad. I wouldn't exclude anything else. I'm not saying to replace part of Albert's system. It's a supplemental thing. It's supplemental to the plan that we have laid out here for you. I hope that makes sense, and that's all I'm going to touch on with website conversions because this isn't a course about website conversions. Cool. Dennis, I don't know why you can't log into the Facebook group. All you need to do is request access and then connect with it. Okay. What do you do when lots of engagement and shares but no sales and CPC even though throughout the four interests? Michelle, I would follow the testing method, and that would lead you to believe that if you have lots of engagement and you're saying that it's low CPC, which is cost per click, but if you mean cost per engagement is low, and you got no sales, then you're probably having a design that has a message that resonates with the audience, but it is not a design that they want to buy. So I would redo your design. Okay, Michelle, I saw you on here, so if that makes sense for you, hopefully we're good. Yes, cool. Michelle's somebody I've seen around for a while now. We've been in the game for probably like a year and a half or so with each other, right? Mark. Yes, cool. Don, Facebook group closes 4 weeks after today. You mentioned starting retargeting at the same time as the main ad. How do you get around? All right, how do you get around through when Facebook says the audience is too small for the ad to be shown? Have to wait. Um, the last time, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and Albert, you might know, but you can still create the ad regardless of the audience being too small, and then it will trigger once the audience is big enough. So you have to wait. There's no way of getting around it. You have to abide by Facebook's rules. I'm never going to sit here and teach you or show you or put something in front of you to buy that violates Facebook's rules, because I want you to be a marketer with a business for a long time. So these things to get around stuff, the things that are hacks, the things that are not whitelisted by Facebook when there are third-party applications or systems, I would never give to you if it wasn't A-OK by Facebook. Jim says, what are your thoughts about targeting with the master pixel and no interest, Matt? The master pixel and no interest, the funny thing is people say it's no interest targeting, right? You're not targeting. You're just putting it out there. You are targeting. Don't be mistaken that no interests and demographics that are set is still targeting. If I go over here to the audience insight tool and I hit all on 25 and above, do interests pop up here? Do we have page likes? Do we have most liked things throughout the entire demographic? Yes. We are still targeting. We still have a demographic set. We still have a region set. We are still targeting. So what's my point in saying this to you? Because you probably already knew that. Your message has to resonate with a large amount of people. If you're not putting, if I'm going to put that specific dog knit shirt in front of 150 million people when there's only 70,000 people on Facebook, am I going to find success with it, even with a master pixel? No. So you go after massive interests. If you're at this level with the master pixel and the no interest targeting, go after massive interests that are very general. It's tougher to do, but there's one on the right side of my screen right now. I'm not being targeted with this because of any sort of demographic. I'm being targeted with this because I'm a 29-year-old that lives in the United States. Does that make sense to you guys? Sweet, everybody's saying yes. I am 29, just turned it in April. And Albert asked me if we're doing advanced level courses down the road. Always a possibility. This is pretty darn advanced though, guys. Don't be mistaken. This generated how much, Albert? I forget the number now. $354,000. Yeah, it's pretty damn advanced, guys. Most advanced quote unquote methods out there that some people might put in front of your face have not generated nearly as much money as this buy skill has. Looking through the questions here, just making sure I got everything covered. Are you using video ads mainly to have Facebook build the custom audience? So again, I'm in the testing method of it. Right now, I'm trying the audience method with the retargeting into that audience, and then I'm also I know a couple people, and including the guy that's coming on Tuesday, who can do the direct link at the end of the day. The Facebook video ads are so cheap that figuring out how to use them effectively is in all of our advantage. So that's why it's, some people have suggested a couple things, but the only thing that I think are valuable additions to what we have put in front of you here are video, because it's so cheap, it cannot be ignored, and then the master pixel, because it's so effective, it cannot be ignored. So that's why I'm not, these are the extra webinars for you. I'm not going to bring up, extra topics that there's tons of stuff out there that I don't find valuable, right? Cool. Awesome. Did you see the domain name for that ad? Has no problem with such a name. Well, yeah, it's pretty hard to believe that this would get passed by Facebook. Um, there are exceptions to do, but to get there, but I don't know. I saw that their Facebook page got taken down, and now it is American as F on Facebook. Sheila says, "This is info that no one else is teaching. I've been scared to jump into the t-shirt game until now and appreciate you and Albert. Thank you very much. When deciding to scale, do you pay attention to, yeah, when you decide to scale, do you pay attention to sales that point to a specific ad set?" Absolutely, Michael. I don't know if you're asking like down to like what is selling. Something that's cool to do, guys. I don't want to pull it up right now, but in Teespring's analytics, you can see which item is selling. And I think maybe this is what Michael was asking, but you can see which item is selling. So you say that my leading item is a black unisex shirt, and then my uh, other options, there's a hoodie. Well, if I look in my Teespring analytics, I can see that the lead item will sell the most 95% of the time. I've only seen like a handful that I can remember of campaigns that the lead item wasn't the biggest seller, because people are simple and they buy what's in front of them. So the lead item is the main seller, but then pay attention to that second item. Who's hitting number two? If it's a, say, red hoodie, then make a retargeting ad to the people that haven't bought, the people that are in your custom audience, and retarget them with the red hoodie. Why is that valuable? Because you have proof, or you have the assumption of proof, that they didn't buy the black unisex shirt. There's a likelihood that they didn't buy it because they didn't like the black unisex shirt, but there's also interest that is proven in your red hoodie. So you're going to put that in front of them and see if that sparks the buy. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. You guys are saying yes right off the bat. I like it. I used to have to pry that from you 2 webinars ago, and now you guys are pretty responsive. One detailed question about video is that from Page Post. Tim, come to the webinar on Tuesday. We'll talk lots and lots of video, man. I don't want to speak and put the cart before the horse. I can rattle all day long about PPE, about website conversion, about click to website, about all the other stuff, especially about targeting. And I can have this rant where I constantly talk and don't take a break, and it doesn't sound like I'm taking a breath. I can do that with those, but I can't do that with video. Sound good? All right. Albert told me that the other day. He's like, "You don't sound like you take a breath sometimes." I'm like, "Sorry."
Yeah, you can talk all
I'm
the three
breathing.
hours without taking a breath.
I'm breathing. Trust me, I'm breathing. That comes from being a purchasing agent. I just used to control conversations when I'm trying to get sold by just talking the entire time. Um, Cynthia, hopefully you made the webinar. I've been hearing the term master pixel. Judy, all right. Question, Carlos. I think this is the biker niche. I saw that. Hopefully, Carlos, if you're still on, give me an indication if this is cool for you now. Um, when you set up a retargeting ad at the start of a campaign, should it be a click to website ad? Tom, I like click to website for retargeting simply for the fact that you can just shove the living crap out of a click to website ad in front of people and beat them literally to death with it, right? So they're eventually going to not want to look at it anymore, and your banner blindness will set in. But that's going to be after the frequency goes really, really high. If you ever see the case studies by Kenny Stevens from Represent on their celebrity campaigns, granted, the celebrity campaigns you can't compare those to niche campaigns as much as you can with this. But what you can do is see that their frequency was like 25. And you would only do that with retargeting because you've already achieved the lower cost by getting them into that custom audience. And um, click to websites do not seem to have a skewed performance when the frequency skyrockets like a website conversion does and like a PPE ad does. So that's the reason I like click to website for retargeting, and hope that makes sense to you. Matt, do you use the Power Editor for all your campaigns, or you just use Ads Manager? I need more education on the Power Editor, but I don't know where I should be, or if I should be using it. Does it make more sense to use PE for scaling? Is it easier? Judy, Power Editor used to be the biggest, scariest thing in the world for me, and I never wanted to touch it. But now it's super fast, and it's great. A couple things to keep up the speed of Power Editor. When you download, just do the download for the last week. For you guys that have sold as much as me and know that downloading the last 2 months means that you download for like 45 minutes. And so download the last week and just get used to it. It's more versatile. You see more options in the Power Editor. The things that Facebook tests are in the Power Editor, and then they make their way to the Ads Manager. I currently have the Flex program in my Power Editor. I got whitelisted for it, which is Flex is the Facebook version of the Audience Intersect tool. So I can't use that in Ads Manager, but I can use that in Power Editor. So those are two different things, or one that's two different reasons for me to use it. But it's the main key for me is that it's more versatile, it's quick, you can scale out much, much quicker as far as creating ads. Creating 4 ads for your individual interest is easier in the Power Editor than it is in Ads Manager. So there's plenty of videos on how to do that on YouTube. How to get adjusted around to that. I think Facebook themselves has a couple great ones, but just play around with it and you'll get to use it. I've seen you around. I know you'll pick it up with no problem. Okay. Carlos says, any thoughts on good interest for veterans? I have tried a lot, but I can't get good ones. VFWs, which are veteran for foreign wars. They're like essentially clubs for veterans. I would do those. And then like any associations tied to past wars. Veteran, depending on what your shirt is, if you're just doing a general veteran, like I served veteran, get into the upper range of age, because generally guys that come in at like 18 serve until they're around my age. I think it's like a general draft at like a 12-year lifespan. Some do shorter, but it's going to be tough. You can do veterans in homes if that's still available. Let's see if it is. Veterans. See, this is confusing to some people. It says some people I've seen target this before, but this is charitable donations to veterans. There used to be an option for veterans in homes, home household competition. Whoops. All right, here we go. Here's, darn it, hold on a second. So veteran in home, if you can see it, I started pointing to my screen like you would be able to see my finger, and I didn't realize, sorry. But partner categories, veterans and home, people in households where someone has served in the military. Now, this is self-reported data, so note that this just means that somebody in their family is uh, inside the military or was served in the military. So what you want to do is speak accordingly in your ad description. So say, do you know a veteran, or are you a veteran, or do you know one? Then you got to get this, right? It's not just singly saying, are you a veteran? This is for you. Are you a veteran, or do you know one? This is for you. The reason for the minor difference, but key difference, is just the mindset that you want your ad person or your avatar to be in. Because you want the brother to buy it for his brother who served, or you want the dad to buy it for the son who served, or vice versa, right? Okay, so key difference, or at least to get the share of the tag, right? So hope that makes sense. Ali S is retargeting really cheaper when purchased through Represents platform. From my understanding, they're getting it. They do have cheap retargeting. I have not used it though, so I can't speak entirely for it. Kenny Smith is a friend, also a Missouri boy. I'm sorry, not Kenny Smith. There's a Kenny Smith on this call. Kenny Stevens is a friend, and also is a Missouri boy. So I've talked to him about it, and I've been on the private calls where they were introducing that to a few people. But it's not something I've used as much as I would like before I start speaking for it. Right. Randy says, if you're starting over today, all things considered, which 5 niches would you start on your short list? Randy, that is a question that is subject from person to person. Which ones would I start in pertain to me? My recommendation to you is to start with what you know. What are your hobbies? What is your profession? What is your mom's profession? What's your dad's profession? What are the people in your lives' hobbies or professions? So that you can pry information from the inside of that niche and use it in your ad or in your design. So if you're looking for 5 niches, sit down with a pen and piece of paper tonight and write down, or today or whatever time it is for you, and sit down and write out 5 things that are personal to you. And some of those are going to fail, right? I'm a fitness, I like going to the gym and lifting weights, so I tried to get in the fitness niche, but I failed pretty bad when I tried to do it. So the reason for that was that fitness is tough, and I didn't know how to market like I do today, and we just haven't stepped our way back into it as much as we would like. So things to do, but that's where I would start for you. Got it? Bernie says a niche where people have money. Seriously. Here's the thing, Bernie. Most people have money. We're not talking about life-shattering money. If I was worried about targeting people uh, with boats, or cars, yeah, I'd worry about the financial income of the people that are in there. But I wouldn't, for $30 overall cart value, shirt plus shipping, I wouldn't worry about if the guy's making 100K or not. In the last webinar, you mentioned Teespring representing viral style. How would you rank them 1 to 3 most effective for you and the ability to make the most profit from them? Also, do you look at the shirts from all 3 platforms simultaneously? Do you put all shirts in the 3 simultaneously? Or is there one that you primarily use? Yes, we primarily use viral style as of right now. We're testing Teespring out again. I actually have a call with Walker, the CEO, at 5 o'clock today at my time, and for him to tell me more about their platform and what's changed since I made a lot of money on there last year and earlier this year. And so to me, there's 2 ways of making money. Most people are short-sighted when it comes to this because they haven't worked in the business sense like I have. But I have my training in being a purchasing agent and overall lifetime value of something has taught me that there's two ways of making money. Yes, there's the initial profit margin that you can make, but there's also positioning yourself with a good reputation in the market. I'm relying on the platform that I use and using their reputation to my advantage, right? So T-Chip is kind of in a bind right now for anybody that has used T-Chip before, right? If you guys know what I'm talking about, I think they're like 7 weeks behind in ordering shirts. We had a lot of shirts that went out the door on T-Chip, and it looked great because you get so much money per shirt. Well, what you don't remember and what most people don't realize is that a lot of that margin that T-Chip, not T-Chip, Teespring or Viral Style or Represent, a lot of that margin that you're not getting on the initial sale is being because that money is being put to use with customer satisfaction, with customer support, with fulfillment, with quality of the material, of all the other key factors that go into play to retain that customer and get repeat buyers over time. Teespring has I think the last time and I will ask them this, but I think the last time I talked to Walker, he said that they have like a 33% around there in repeat buyers. Like 33% of their purchases that happen are from repeat purchases. That's awesome. That is a really good number. That means people are so happy with their Teespring shirt that they're coming back and buying that. And I'm sure Viral Style and Represent have that ranked in the order. I'm not going to do that for you because it's all about personal preference. These are three platforms that work very effectively if you use them correctly. But don't be short-sighted and ultimately go for the single sale profit margin. Realize that conversion over time and trust and customer satisfaction, especially if you're building communities, also play out into lifetime value of your customer. Okay? Like how valuable is your email list that you build up, or your message list after you build that up? If once they get their shirt and you email them again, will they buy from you? If the answer is no, due to poor quality, maybe they don't even have the shirt yet, maybe all these different answers, you're not going to get as much money as over time as if you're using a reliable platform. So that's why we use and rank those three the way we do, and that's why we recommend that you use one of those based on your personal preference. Ali says, you mentioned two things that are hard to ignore right now because of their potential video advertising and the master pixel. What about list creation? List creation is essential. You actually get to message people in the system in Teespring and Viral Style and Represent that have purchased from you. You don't ultimately get to retain the emails unless you're on Viral Style. And that might be a VIP feature now that I think about it and say that. But you get to message them. So in the crowd-funded platforms, you don't get as much capability there. You could put a landing page up front, but you're ultimately not going to capture those email addresses and get the sale as much as you would if you just get the sale. I'm sorry, I probably didn't say that right, but you probably won't get as high of number of sales. You might get the emails, but it's hard to incentivize somebody for something you ultimately don't control. Giveaways work well, and then you could drive those emails to a sale, to a t-shirt to buy that. Not taught in this course, but the messaging the buyers is taught in this course. So you are building an email list. I have thousands of people on my nurse email list that we can message at any time to buy more of my stuff. And that is very important for you to do, is to be messaging people. That's in the course, by the way. All right, I'm going to try to close this out in the next 6 minutes. We're having another long one here today. Carlos, hopefully that helped you on veterans. Once you find a popular idea and you want to model, do you have any tips to how to translate that into an original idea without losing the impact? It'd be ripping off the idea. Check if it's trademarked. If it's trademarked, don't use it at all. But if it's not trademarked, you change up the font, change up the coloring, change up the placement of images, add images, subtract images, and generally just recreate the design. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So what you're doing is making sure you're not violating anybody's intellectual property. I'm not an intellectual property lawyer. If you have questions around that, please consult a professional. But find something that's popular and recreate it. Cool thing here, Mark, is that designers are really, really good at doing that. So don't do it yourself. You should be outsourcing to a designer. What do I think about these stats? 24 hours in, but only 4 website clicks. Peter, where's your cost per engagement? I mean, that's not a terrible OCPM. You know what? How many? So what is that? $15 spend? I would say that maybe your call to action is a little weak. I'd like to review your ad text because 4 website clicks out of you seem to get a lot of shares, but maybe a stronger call to action here to make sure that you're reaching more people and getting people to the website there. Okay, so thanks guys. I try to get through as much as possible. And that hopefully you guys learned a lot throughout these 3 webinars. These are the immersion session webinars. These are what I like to do, and I think I'm going to do going forward if I get a lot of good feedback from you guys. So why don't I just say, is this something that on future things that I come out with, on future courses, on future bonuses, is this something that you guys would like me to do? Give me a yes in the chat box. Awesome. So I did this as a bonus for people who bought through me for T Advantage. A lot of you are on this call today, and I got basically the same response. So now I've done it as a promotion of another course that I believed in, and I've actually done it on my own product. So I think going forward, if you guys stick with me, if you guys stick around with me, this is something that I will be doing, and Albert and I work together. We will be doing in the future. So hopefully that's pretty cool for you guys. Awesome, awesome. You guys seem to love it. So I usually have problems sitting through a webinar, but not this one. Solid content. Thank you very much. Awesome, guys. So that is it. But we do have more webinars coming up. They are going to be shorter and more concise, and they're not going to be necessarily around what's in PyScaled. I'm looking to help you implement more, implement learning, learn and then implement and then grow. So the next stage for you is to grow, because you at this point hopefully have learned the course and now you're implementing. And now if you're behind, if you haven't gotten to this point yet, that's fine, guys. Attend the webinar, come there, learn some more, and then put it as something that's in your production plan, right? So you should have a production plan for your business. And a production plan can be learning this thing and really implementing it in this down line, as we've been talking about all day. So I want you to come to the webinar that's on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. It's going to be about video ads. Why do I want you to come? Because these are the cheap traffic right now. These are the PPE ads of a year ago. PPE ads are still very effective, but they're not as cheap as they used to be, right? But we can still use them when we structure with Albert's course. But video is getting exciting day by day because Facebook is aggressively trying to knock YouTube off the board. I'd love to see it happen. I don't know if that can possible, but I'll take the cheap traffic then I can. So I'm going to be learning on the call. You're going to be learning on the call, and I think that we'll be learning together, and hopefully you guys get a lot out of it. So I'm also going to work on the master pixel for you. More to come on that. Look for my notifications in the group. look for my notifications in your email. I'll be sending out emails saying, hey, don't forget about Tuesday, and I'll send a couple reminders to you because it's something I think it's truly valuable for you guys. So really appreciate you guys. Albert, if you want to send some parting words, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the end of the three series webinar. But this is the beginning of for you to take action. So take action and implement what you have started in the course. If you have further questions, please post it on the group and we will answer there. I also want to take this chance to thank you everybody for taking this course and thank you for trusting Matt and me. And I want to personally thank you, Matt, for doing most of the talking. Since he can literally talking without a pause. That's why I told him, Matt, you have to do most of the talking in the webinar because we have to give our audience the best ROI for their time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, give me a big yes if you think that Matt is great.
Yeah. Well, Albert came to bat with the content in the course, so I had to do my part and with the webinars, and I can talk. that's uh that's all I can do. So glad you guys liked it so much. We really appreciate it. This is not the end. We want you now to take and go forward with implementation, with learning. If you need to get through the course, get through the course. If you need to get through the webinars, get through the webinars. Go back, learn, implement, grow. Growing stage is coming the next week, and maybe the following week after that. 4 weeks from today, we will close the group. Take action. Go, stop diddle daddling, get off your butt, go, and we'll talk to you in the group. Thank you guys. See you Tuesday.
Thank you, guys.